The Colombian Broadcasting System and its affiliation with If Walls Could Talk present Orson Wells and the Mercury Theater on air in The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells.
Ladies and gentlemen, the director of the Mercury Theater and star of these broadcasts, Orson Wells.
We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man's, and yet as mortal as his own. We know now that as human beings busied themselves about their various concerns, they were scrutinized and studied, perhaps almost as narrowly as a man with a microscope might scrutinize the transient creatures that swarm and multiply in a drop of water. With infinite complacence, people went to and fro over the earth about their little affairs, serene in the assurance of their dominion over this small, spinning fragment of solar driftwood, which by
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our program to bring you a special bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News. At 20 minutes before 8 Central Time, Professor Harrell of Mount Jennings Observatory reports observing several explosions of incandescent gas occurring at regular intervals on the planet Mars. The spectroscope indicates the gas to be hydrogen and moving towards the Earth with enormous velocity. Professor Pearson at the Observatory at Princeton confirms Farrell's observation and describes the phenomenon as, quote, like a jet of blue flames shot from a gun, unquote. We now take you to the music of If Walls Could Talk, playing at the Meridian Room of the Park Plaza Hotel, situated in downtown New York, while we wait for more news on this matter.
Some people talk about it, but we don't care about it. So we live on. See, we live on. Outside is calling you, and oh, the sky is blue, so we'll carry on. This feeling, ooh, even if I tried to, darling, I couldn't hide it if I tried. This feeling, oh, even if I tried to, darling, I couldn't hide it if I tried.
Ladies and gentlemen, following on the news given in our bulletin a moment ago, the Government Meteorological Bureau has requested the large observatories of the country to keep an astronomical watch on any further disturbances occurring on the planet Mars. Due to the unusual nature of this occurrence, we have arranged an interview with the noted astronomer, Professor Pearson, who will give us his views on this event. In a few moments, we will take you to the Princeton Observatory at Princeton, New Jersey.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carl Phillips speaking to you from the observatory at Princeton. Professor, may I begin our questions?
Any time, Mr. Phillips.
Professor, would you please tell our radio audience exactly what you see as you observe the planet Mars through your telescope?
Nothing unusual at the moment, Mr. Phillips. A red disk swimming in a blue sea. Transverse stripes across the disk. Quite distinct now because Mars happens to be at the point nearest the Earth, in opposition, as we call it.
In your opinion, what do these transverse stripes signify, Professor Pearson?
Not canals, I can assure you, Mr. Phillips.
They...
Although that's the popular conjecture of those who imagine Mars to be inhabited. From a scientific viewpoint, the stripes are merely the result of atmospheric conditions peculiar to the planet.
Then you're quite convinced, as a scientist, that living intelligence as we know it does not exist on Mars?
I should say the chances against it are 1,000 to 1.
And yet, how do you account for these gas eruptions occurring on the surface of the planet at regular intervals?
Phillips, I cannot account for it.
By the way, Professor, for the benefit of our listeners, how far is Mars from the Earth?
Approximately 40 million miles.
Well, that seems a safe enough distance.
Thank you.
We've been speaking to you from the observatory at Princeton, bringing you a special interview with Professor Pearson, noted astronomer. This is Carl Phillips speaking. We are returning you now to our New York studio.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is the latest bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News. It is reported that at 8:50 p.m., a huge flaming object, believed to be a meteorite, fell on a farm in the neighborhood of Grover's Mill, New Jersey, 22 miles from Trenton. The flash in the sky was visible within a radius of several hundred miles, and the noise of the impact was heard as far north as Elizabeth. We have dispatched a special mobile unit to the scene, and we'll have our commentator, Carl Phillips, give you a word picture of the scene as soon as he can reach there from Princeton. In the meantime, we take you to the Hotel Martinet in Brooklyn, where Bobby Millett and his orchestra are offering a program of dance music.
I feel like cursing out your name, 'cause you know you're the one to blame. And all these tricks get to my head. You make me feel like I'm dead. You feel so static to me, I can't take you seriously anymore. When this conversation rises in the morning, will you take the floor? I'm not okay, I can't forget you. Don't feel insane, but I kinda want to. Feel so static to me, I can't take you seriously anymore.
take you now to Grover's Mill, New Jersey.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Carl Phillips again, out at the Wilmot Farm, Grover's Mill, New Jersey. Well, I just got here. I haven't had a chance to look around yet. I guess that's it. Yes, I guess that's the thing directly in front of me, half buried in a vast pit. Must have struck with terrific force. The ground is covered with splinters of a tree. It must have struck on its way down. But I can see the object itself doesn't look very much like a meteor. At least not the meteors I've seen. It looks more like a huge cylinder. Has a diameter of, what would you say, Professor Pearson?
What's that?
What would you say, what's the diameter of this?
About 30 yards.
About 30 yards. The metal on the sheath is, well, I've never seen anything like it. The color is sort of yellowish white. Now, we're not more than 25 feet away. Can you hear it now? Professor Pearson?
Yes, Mr. Grover.
Can you tell us the meaning of that scraping noise inside the thing?
Possibly the unequal cooling of its surface.
I say, do you still think it's a meteor, Professor?
I don't know what to think. The metal casing is definitely extraterrestrial. Not found on this Earth. Friction with the Earth's atmosphere usually tears holes in a meteorite. This thing is smooth, and you can see its cylindrical
Just a minute.
shape.
Something's happening.
The top's loose! Look out there! Stand back!
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the most terrifying thing I've ever witnessed. Wait a minute, something's happening. Humped shape is rising out of the pit. I can make out a small beam of light against a mirror. What's that? There's a jet of flame springing from the mirror, and it leaps right at the advancing men. It strikes them head on. Oh, Lord, they're turning into flames. Now the whole field's caught up by the woods, the barns, the gas tanks of the automobiles spreading everywhere. It's coming this way now, about 20 yards to my right.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to circumstances beyond our control, we are unable to continue the broadcast from Grover's Mill. Evidently, there's some difficulty with our field transmission. However, we will return to that point at the earliest opportunity. In the meantime, we have a late bulletin from San Diego, California. Professor Indelkoffer, speaking at a dinner of the California Astronomical Society, expressed the opinion that the explosions on Mars are undoubtedly nothing more than severe volcanic disturbances on the surface of the planet. We continue now with our piano interlude.
We're searching, looking for a goal, trying to make sense of what little we know. In time, will we all agree? We'll be torn apart by what we can never really see. Give it up for you, try to see life in another view. Give it up for me, try to make sense of the world we see. Give it up for us, try to make life we can build on trust. Guess we'll only see in time. Well, can you promise me you will be alright? Just living out your life in the back of your mind. Know the truth to me is far from what you believe. Honestly, don't ever be afraid to speak on what you're feeling. Just give it to me straight. Honest, just want you to be true. Find comfort in the thought of what really makes you you. Give it up for you, try to make sense in another view. Give it up for me, try to make sense from the world we see. Give it up for us, try to make life we can build on trust. Guess we'll only see in time. Well, can you promise me you will be alright? Just living out your life in the back of your mind. Know the truth to me is far from what you believe.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have just been informed that we have finally established communication with an eyewitness of the tragedy. Professor Pearson has been located at a farmhouse near Grover's Mill, where he has established an emergency observation post. As a scientist, he will give you his explanation of the calamity. The next voice you hear will be that of Professor Pearson, brought to you by direct wire. Professor Pearson.
Of the creatures in the rocket cylinder at Grover's Mill, I can give you no authoritative information, either as to their nature, their origin, or their purposes here on Earth. Of their destructive instrument, I might venture some conjectural explanation. For want of a better term, I shall refer to the mysterious weapon as a heat ray. It's all too evident that these creatures have scientific knowledge far in advance of our own. It's my guess that in some way they are able to generate an intense heat in a chamber of practically absolute non-conductivity. This intense heat they project in a parallel beam against any object they choose by means of a polished parabolic mirror of unknown composition, much as the mirror of a lighthouse projects a beam of light. That is my conjecture of the origin of the heat ray.
Bulletins too numerous to read are piling up in the studio here. We're informed that the central portion of New Jersey is blacked out from radio communication due to the effect of the heat ray upon power lines and electrical equipment. Here is a bulletin from Basking Ridge, New Jersey. Coon hunters have stumbled on a second cylinder similar to the first, embedded in the great swamp 20 miles south of Morristown. Army field pieces are proceeding before the cylinder can be opened and the fighting machine rigged. They're taking up a position in the foothills of Watchung Mountains. Here's a bulletin from Winston-Field, Long Island. A fleet of Army bombers carrying heavy explosive flying north in pursuit of enemy. Scouting planes act as guides. They keep the speeding enemy in sight. Just a moment, please, ladies and gentlemen.
Once upon a time, there was a small little town that was cursed with the legend of a ghost. Now rumors died down as time passed by, until one day when what they feared the most came to life. Ha 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 ha.
I heard rumors of a story I once heard when I was young. The story of the specter of the dead. When we saw the townsmen running towards the screams that so lived, we all knew the tales were not in our So I ran out to that crooked shack where that ghost now resides, and took with me the courage that I had. If these stories from my childhood are true of how he died, then sure I'll be the first to tell. But hold on, you can't go in. The thing is more a demon than a soul. If you've had enough and you want the truth, then I recommend that I come in too. Now before we enter in, there is something I need to say, and things I think you ought to know. In all honesty, and probably the only thing to know is capable and love to. Here we creep through the shadows, even if I'm scared. I don't know what'll happen down there, but only time will tell. close as could be, pretending not to see what we saw. We then found old sounds of horses leading to an open room. We took our chances and went in. There was a small and youthful boy just sitting there all alone. His eyes were burning red, but not too scared. He'd been crying for a while now, so we came to comfort him. And he told us of his grieving tale. He said, hello there, please help me. I'm sick and feel growing more ill. Now my bones are light and I can't feel a thing. And why is everything so cold?
He then vanished right in front of them as if to say goodbye, and left them standing there all alone. They then walked outside and told the men the truth of what they saw, but the stories of the demon lived on.
We've run special wires to the artillery line and adjacent villages to give you direct reports in the zone of the advancing enemy. First, we take you to the battery of the 22nd Field Artillery, located in the Watchung Mountains.
The machines are close together now, and we're ready to attack. Planes circling, ready to strike. 800 yards. 600. 400. 200. There they go. The giant arm raised. Green flash. They're spraying us with flame. 2,000 feet. Engines are giving out. No chance to release bombs. Only one thing left. Drop on them, plane and all. We're diving on the first one. Now the engine's gone. 8. 2X, 2L, calling CQ. 2X, 2L, calling CQ. 2X, 2L, calling CQ, New York. Isn't there anyone on the air? Isn't there anyone? 2X, 2L.
You are listening to a CBS presentation of Orson Wells and the Mercury Theater on the Air in an original dramatization of The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells.
Strange it now seems to sit in my peaceful study at Princeton, writing down this last chapter of the record, begun at a deserted farm in Grover's Mill. Strange to watch children playing in the streets. Strange to see young people strolling on the green where the new spring grass heals the last black scars of a bruised earth. Strange to watch the sightseers enter the museum where the disassembled parts of a Martian machine are kept on public view. Strange when I recall the time when I first saw it. Bright and clean-cut, hard and silent under the dawn of that last great day.
This is Tony from If Walls Could Talk, out of character to assure you that the War of the Worlds has no further significance than as a holiday offering it was intended to be. On behalf of the band, we would all like to thank you for tuning into this special broadcast and creating a Halloween memory we will cherish for years to come. We are very eager to see you all in person once more, but until then, you are more than welcome to continue streaming our latest album and reaching out to us on our social platforms. From the bottom of our hearts, we wish you the very best and a happy Halloween.